Ilara's shuttle touched down on the colony's landing platform with a soft hum. Outside the viewport, the alien city stretched in endless patterns of silver and glass, towers reaching toward the sky with lights that pulsed like living stars. She pressed her hand to the window, her heart pounding. This was nothing like Earth, nothing she had ever known. The air inside the shuttle smelled faintly metallic but not unpleasant, carrying a sense of energy and possibility. She had been chosen for this exchange because of her curiosity, her willingness to explore the unknown. But as she stepped out onto the platform, a wave of fear settled over her. Everyone here was perfect. Every alien seemed precise, confident, moving with a grace and intelligence that made her feel small. And then there was the matter she had never told anyone, something she had kept hidden for years. She couldn't read or write. The words themselves felt heavy in her mind, a secret shame she had carried quietly, whispering it only to herself in moments of solitude. How could I survive here when I can't even read the simplest signs? She thought. Her fingers tightened on her bag's strap, and she forced herself to breathe. A shadow fell across the platform. She looked up and met the calm eyes of Captain Jaren. He was human, tall and broad, with a presence that demanded neither fear nor attention, just quiet respect. His uniform was clean and simple, the insignia of the human liaison gleaming softly on his chest. Jaren's gaze met hers, steady and kind. "You're welcome here," he said. There was no judgment in his tone, only a quiet warmth. His voice seemed to anchor her, a tether to safety in this sea of alien perfection. Ilara blinked, unsure if she had heard correctly. I don't even know how to read the colony's language," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I can't read or write." Jaren smiled faintly, not condescending but patient. "Then you will learn in your own way," he said. "Your value isn't in the words you read, but in what you do and how you think." She wanted to cry, to feel relief, but instead she nodded. The alien citizens began to move around her, their footsteps silent yet purposeful. Their skin glimmered faintly in patterns that shifted with their emotions, a natural luminescence that spoke more than words ever could. Some were tall and thin, others shorter with compact, powerful builds, and all of them carried themselves with an elegance that seemed impossible to imitate. Jaren extended a hand. "Come with me. I'll show you where you'll stay." The colony was a labyrinth of smooth corridors and open plazas, interspersed with floating gardens where plants hovered above glass fountains. The aliens moved effortlessly, communicating, with gestures, subtle sounds, and symbols that glowed faintly in the air. Ilara tried to follow, but she stumbled over the complexity of it all. Her mind raced, feeling the weight of every step she took. She wanted to run back to her shuttle and hide. "Take it slow," Jaren said, noticing her hesitation. "Focus on what you can understand, not on what you can't." They stopped in front of a small living quarter designed for humans. It was simple but comfortable, with soft beds, clean surfaces, and windows looking out over the city. Ilara sank onto the edge of the bed, overwhelmed. "I don't belong here," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. Jaren shook his head. "You do. You're here because you have courage. You're here because you care. Those are things no one can teach or take away. The rest, we'll figure out together." Her gaze drifted toward the window. The city seemed alive, every light and movement a puzzle she couldn't yet solve. Yet Jaren's words lingered. Courage and care. Perhaps that was enough. Perhaps that was all she needed to start. The next morning, she followed Jaren to the colony's learning center, a grand hall with walls of transparent material revealing the stars beyond. Aliens moved gracefully among various stations, interacting with devices she couldn't begin to name. Screens floated in midair, showing complex symbols and diagrams. Robots zipped past, carrying tools and materials, responding to the gestures of their alien operators. Ilara's chest tightened. How will I ever understand this? She thought. But Jaren stayed by her side, explaining each station in plain language, showing her through demonstration rather than words. He guided her hand to operate a simple repair drone, then helped her adjust, The trajectory. She failed at first, sending the drone spinning into the wall. But Jaren only laughed softly. Try again. Every mistake teaches you more than success ever could. She nodded and took a deep breath, her fingers trembling as she adjusted the controls. Slowly the drone responded, hovering steadily as she guided it along a small path. A small cheer from nearby aliens made her heart leap. She had done it. She had accomplished something here. The day continued with more challenges. Jaren introduced her to the alien communication system, a network of symbols that floated in midair. She couldn't read them, but she could follow patterns and gestures. By paying attention, she began to anticipate the symbols' meanings, connecting them to actions rather than words. By mid-afternoon, Ilara felt a strange sense of pride. She had not read a single symbol correctly, yet she had completed tasks that some human students would struggle with for weeks. Jaren noticed her quiet confidence and smiled. "You see," he said, "you're learning in ways no one else does. You're seeing connections, understanding patterns. That's how humans survive in unknown worlds. Not by memorizing words, but by observing, thinking, and acting." Ilara couldn't help but smile back. It was the first time she had felt seen for what she could do rather than what she couldn't. She still couldn't read or write, but maybe that didn't matter here. Maybe courage, observation, and determination were enough. The day ended with a tour of the colony's gardens where alien flora glowed softly under the artificial sky. Jaren explained that each plant had a purpose, from providing nutrients to creating oxygen balance. Ilara touched the smooth leaves, fascinated by how the plant seemed almost aware of her presence. She could feel a strange connection to this place, a sense that she belonged even if she couldn't yet understand everything. "Tomorrow we'll begin more advanced tasks," Jaren said as they walked back to her quarters, "and I'll be here with you every step of the way." Ilara nodded, a small spark of determination lighting inside her. For the first time since she arrived, fear was not her only companion. Hope had arrived as well, gentle but insistent, whispering that she could belong here, that she could make a difference. As she lay in her bed that night staring at the glowing city through her window, she repeated Jaren's words quietly to herself. Courage and care. Those are things no one can take away. She closed her eyes, letting the lights of the colony lull her into sleep, ready to face whatever tomorrow would bring. In this alien world, among beings she did not yet understand, Ilara discovered a truth she had always hidden from herself. Her worth was not measured by letters on a page, but by the choices she made and the heart she carried. And with Jaren by her side, she felt ready to prove that she belonged here, even in a world so different from her own. The next morning, Ilara woke before the sun, or what passed for a sun in this alien colony. Light filtered through the transparent walls of her quarters, casting soft reflections on the floor. Her nerves fluttered like small birds in her chest. Today, Jaren had promised she would face her first real challenge. The thought made her both excited and afraid. Breakfast was a quiet affair. Ilara sat at a table with soft, glowing trays that shaped the food into precise portions. Jaren joined her, placing a hand on her shoulder briefly. "Remember," he said, "today is about more than skill. It's about learning to trust yourself." Ilara nodded. She had learned a lot yesterday: how to operate machines, how to follow patterns, how to observe the aliens' gestures. But now she wondered if that would be enough. Would the colony accept her if she made a mistake in a bigger challenge? After breakfast, they walked toward the training grounds, an enormous open area filled with platforms, floating equipment, and hovering drones. Aliens moved gracefully, practicing combat simulations, problem-solving exercises, and technical operations. The air was filled with the soft hum of machines and the occasional whoosh of flying drones. "This is where the colony tests its newcomers," Jaren explained. "We'll start simple, then increase difficulty as you improve. Don't worry about reading anything. Just pay attention, follow gestures, and think logically." Ilara took a deep breath and stepped forward. Her first task was to guide a small drone through an obstacle course. Yesterday, she had only practiced hovering a drone in a confined area, but now she would navigate it through moving platforms and rotating gates. The drone floated before her, sleek and silver, responding to her tentative gestures. She started carefully. At first, the drone bumped into a platform, spinning slightly. Ilara froze, heart pounding. Some aliens nearby watched silently, their subtle, luminescent patterns showing curiosity. She reminded herself of Jaren's words. Mistakes were lessons. She adjusted her movements, guided the drone more slowly, and avoided the spinning gates. By the second run, she could anticipate the drone's movements. Her hands moved with confidence, and the drone followed without hesitation. When it reached the final platform, a small green light flashed, signaling success. Jaren gave a quiet nod of approval. "Well done," he said. "You're learning, faster than you think." Ilara smiled, feeling a small surge of pride. She was beginning to understand the alien ways, not by reading but by observing, feeling, and acting. Next came a problem-solving challenge. A simulated hydroponic garden had been set up, where a section of plants was failing due to a mechanical glitch. The aliens had left subtle signs of the problem, but most humans would struggle without reading the instructions. Jaren turned to her. "Try to find a solution," he said. "Use what you've learned. Don't worry about writing or reading symbols." Ilara examined the plants and equipment. She noticed that a valve was slightly misaligned and that the water flow was irregular. Her intuition guided her movements. With careful adjustments, she fixed the valve and restored balance to the plants. Within minutes, the simulation signaled success. A few nearby aliens looked impressed. One of the elder instructors approached her, a tall being with translucent skin that shimmered in soft blue. They spoke in a series of melodic tones, and Jaren translated. "She sees the problem and solves it without reading the instructions. That is unusual." Ilara's cheeks warmed. She had always feared that her inability to read or write would prevent her from contributing, but here she had solved a problem others struggled with for hours. Lunch arrived in floating trays, carrying colorful, unfamiliar foods. Ilara experimented carefully, tasting each item. She noticed that some flavors paired well together, others clashed. A small alien child floated nearby, watching her with bright curiosity. Ilara smiled and offered a piece of food. The child accepted, giggling with delight. Jaren watched silently, then spoke. "You're not just learning technology, Ilara. You're learning the people. That's as important as any machine or system here." The afternoon brought the most difficult task yet, navigating the colony's inner sectors using only gestures and observation. The inner sectors were a maze of corridors, platforms, and suspended bridges, filled with devices that responded to alien commands. Humans usually needed a guide or a written map, but Jaren wanted her to rely on intuition and observation. Ilara felt a lump in her throat. "I might get lost. I might fail." She forced herself to take deep breaths and focus. Jaren stayed beside her at first, demonstrating gestures that opened doors, activated elevators, and signaled the drones. Slowly, he let her try on her own. She moved carefully, observing the symbols and gestures of the aliens around her. She noticed patterns. The way they waved a hand to redirect a drone. The way they tapped a surface to activate a lift. Using these observations, she guided herself through the maze. At one point, a bridge began to lower just as she reached it. She paused, unsure, and a soft hum indicated that time was running out. Remembering Jaren's advice, she acted on instinct, mimicking the gestures she had seen. The bridge stabilized and she crossed safely. Her heart raced with relief and triumph. By the end of the afternoon, she had completed the navigation challenge. The aliens observing her gave small nods of approval. Jaren met her at the exit, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You did it," he said simply. "You relied on observation, thinking, and action. You didn't need to read a single word. You succeeded because you trusted yourself." Ilara felt a warmth she had never experienced before. For the first time in her life, she realized that her inability to read or write was not a permanent weakness. It was simply a challenge she could overcome in her own way. That evening, Jaren took her to the observation deck, a high platform overlooking the city. Lights twinkled below like stars fallen to the ground, and the alien citizens moved gracefully in their daily routines. "You've learned a lot today," Jaren said quietly. "More than you realize. Humans have a unique way of seeing the world. Even without reading, you notice patterns, connections, and possibilities that others might miss." Alara gazed at the city, breathing in the sense of possibility. She could almost feel the life of the colony pulsing around her. She realized that belonging here was not about fitting perfectly into an existing system. It was about finding where her own strengths mattered. "Do you really think I can keep up?" she asked, a hint of doubt in her voice. Jaren smiled. "You're not just keeping up, you're making a difference. Every choice you make, every action you take matters here. That is the heart of being human in a world like this." Alara felt her chest swell with pride. The fear that had shadowed her since arriving had not disappeared, but it had shifted. She felt excitement now, a determination to face whatever the colony would ask of her next. As she returned to her quarters that night, she thought about the day's events. She had operated machines, solved problems, navigated unknown paths, and earned recognition from both humans and aliens, and all of it without reading or writing. The thought was liberating. She realized something important. Knowledge was not just words on a page. Knowledge was experience, observation, courage, and the willingness to try. And for the first time, she felt that she had the courage to continue. Alara lay in bed, looking at the stars beyond the colony walls. The city hummed below, alive and vibrant. She whispered to herself, "I can do this. I belong here." And for the first time since she had arrived, she truly believed it. In the quiet of her room, a soft chime signaled a message. Jaren's name appeared with a note. "Tomorrow we start something new. I have a feeling you will surprise everyone." Alara smiled to herself. She was ready. The next morning, Alara awoke with a sense of purpose. She had spent the last 2 days learning, observing, and overcoming small challenges. But today felt different. Jaren had mentioned a new task, and though he had been vague, she sensed it would be her first real test. She dressed quickly, the soft uniform provided for humans fitting comfortably, and made her way to the training grounds. Jaren was waiting for her, arms crossed, a faint smile on his face. "Good morning, Alara," he said. "Today you will work with others. You'll help guide a group of humans who are just arriving. Your experience from the last 2 days will be valuable to them." Alara swallowed. Guiding others? That sounded more intimidating than navigating drones or solving hydroponic problems. She had barely managed to keep up herself, but she nodded, trusting Jaren's judgment. The new arrivals were led onto the platform. They were a mix of humans, some nervous, some wide-eyed with curiosity. They had heard rumors about the colony's strict challenges and sophisticated systems. When they saw Alara, their eyes widened in surprise. She was not perfectly polished, not fluent in the alien ways, yet she stood confidently, her hands steady as she observed the environment. "Hello," Alara said softly, giving a small wave. "I'm Alara. I've been here for 2 days. I can show you how to get started." A few of the newcomers exchanged skeptical glances. They had expected someone fully trained, someone fluent in the colony's language and systems. But Alara smiled again, her quiet confidence radiating assurance. Jaren stepped forward. "Alara has learned quickly. She will help you understand the basics. Watch her, follow her actions, and learn from her example." The newcomers hesitated, but one by one they approached. Alara guided them through simple tasks, activating drones, aligning energy conduits, and operating basic tools. She used gestures and demonstrations, pointing, showing, and repeating until they understood. Words were unnecessary. Her actions spoke louder than any instruction manual. By mid-morning, the group was moving more confidently. They navigated drones through obstacle courses, adjusted equipment, and even solved minor system glitches. Ilara watched their progress with quiet pride. She realized that teaching others was different from learning herself. Here, she could see her own growth reflected in their success. After a short break, Jaren approached. "You're doing well," he said. "But now comes the real challenge." Ilara frowned slightly. "Another one?" Jaren nodded. "Yes. There's a section of the colony that has been malfunctioning due to a complex system error. Normally, only trained personnel handle it, but I want you and your team to work together to fix it. Use what you've learned. Communicate, observe, and act." Her heart raced. This was bigger than anything she had attempted. The malfunctioning section was responsible for energy distribution across the colony. A mistake could cause temporary power loss in several sectors. Ilara glanced at her group. They looked nervous, but she felt a strange sense of calm. "We can do this," she thought. "We'll figure it out together." They arrived at the malfunction site, a corridor filled with floating panels, blinking lights, and humming machinery. The energy grids were unstable, flickering in unpredictable patterns. Ilara took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Observe first," she said, demonstrating the method Jaren had taught her. She watched the patterns, noticing how the systems reacted to the aliens' gestures and commands. Slowly, she guided her group to mimic her actions, adjusting valves, aligning circuits, and resetting control panels. At first, the machinery resisted. Sparks flew, lights blinked erratically, and the newcomers froze. But Ilara remained calm, her hands steady as she guided them, her voice clear and confident despite the alien noises around them. One of the human newcomers, a young man named Liam, panicked. He pushed the wrong panel, causing a small overload. The lights flared and a soft alarm sounded. Ilara placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Take a deep breath," she said. "Mistakes are part of learning. Watch what happens, then try again." Liam nodded, swallowing hard, and followed her instructions. Slowly, the system stabilized. Panel by panel, they worked together, correcting errors and reinforcing the energy flow. Ilara's heart pounded, but she stayed focused. After what felt like hours, the machinery hummed steadily. The lights glowed evenly, the energy grids balanced. The small alarm ceased. Her group looked at her with wide eyes, astonished at their success. Jaren arrived, clapping softly. "Remarkable," he said. "You led them through a situation most humans would avoid, and you did it without relying on reading or writing. Your observation, action, and communication skills made all the difference." Ilara felt a wave of relief and pride. She had doubted herself, worried that her inability to read or write would hold her back. But here, she had guided others, solved a critical problem, and earned recognition. As they walked back to the main hall, one of the newcomers, a young woman named Kara, whispered to Ilara, "I don't know how you did it. You made everything seem so simple." Ilara smiled softly. "It's not simple," she admitted. "I just focus on what I can do, not what I can't. Watch, think, act, you'll get there too." Jaren followed, listening to their conversation. He glanced at Ilara, his expression proud. "You've learned the most important lesson here," he said quietly. "Leadership isn't about knowing everything. It's about guiding others, making decisions, and staying calm under pressure. You've done all of that today." The evening brought a quiet moment on the observation deck. Ilara leaned on the railing, watching the alien city below. Lights shimmered like water, and the citizens moved with an elegance that never ceased. To amaze her, "You've grown," Jaren said, joining her. "In just 3 days, you've gone from newcomer to mentor. That's not something many humans can achieve, especially in a place like this." Ilara looked at him, her chest swelling with pride and humility. "I still feel like I have so much to learn," she admitted. Jaren smiled. "That's the point. You never stop learning. And the best learners are the ones who face challenges, make mistakes, and keep moving forward. You've done that. And tomorrow, We'll start something even bigger. Ilara nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and anticipation. She realized that her journey here was not just about survival, it was about growth, courage, and connection. She had faced her fears, guided others, and solved real problems. And through it all, she had discovered something powerful. Her inability to read or write was not a weakness, but a different way of understanding the world. As she returned to her quarters that night, Ilara reflected on her progress. She had navigated drones, repaired systems, solved complex problems, and mentored newcomers, all without reading or writing. She realized that the colony valued more than words on a page. It valued observation, action, and the courage to try. She lay in bed staring at the glowing city through the window. A gentle hum filled the air, a reminder of the life and energy all around her. And in that hum, Ilara found a new kind of confidence. She belonged here. She could contribute. She could grow. And for the first time, she didn't fear the unknown. She welcomed it. Tomorrow, she would face new challenges, learn new skills, and perhaps discover even more about herself. But tonight, she allowed herself a quiet moment of satisfaction. She had proven something important, not just to the colony or to Jaren or even to the newcomers, but to herself. She was capable. She was brave. And in a world filled with beings more advanced and perfect than she had ever imagined, she had found her place. The morning air in the colony was crisp, filled with the faint hum of machines and the soft chatter of alien citizens preparing for their day. Ilara had barely finished breakfast when Jaren appeared at her quarters, his expression serious. "Today," he said, "you will face your first critical crisis." Ilara's stomach tightened. She had handled drones, repaired systems, and guided newcomers, but a critical crisis sounded far more dangerous. Jaren led her to the central command hub, a vast room with high ceilings and walls lined with screens displaying energy grids, maps, and real-time data streams. Aliens and humans alike worked together, moving swiftly but with precision. The hub hummed with activity, a living system of life and information. Jaren gestured toward the main screen. "A sector on the colony's outer perimeter is malfunctioning. The energy distribution is unstable, and the environmental controls are failing. If not corrected soon, the area could experience severe consequences." Ilara studied the data, feeling a mix of fear and determination. The outer perimeter was critical. She had seen simulations before, but this was real. The lives of both humans and aliens depended on her actions alongside the team. "You will lead a group of humans and aliens to stabilize the sector," Jaren continued. "Use your observation, communication, and problem-solving skills. And, Ilara..." He paused, placing a hand lightly on her shoulder. "Trust yourself. You've handled challenges before. You can handle this." Ilara nodded, her heart pounding. She gathered her team, a mix of humans who had arrived the previous day and a few aliens willing to follow her guidance. Their faces reflected a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. She could relate. "Stay calm," she said, her voice steady. "Observe the systems. Communicate what you see. We'll solve this together." The team moved quickly toward the outer perimeter in small hovercrafts, their engines humming softly. The moment they arrived, Ilara saw the problem firsthand. Lights flickered across the platforms. Drones struggled to maintain stability, and a faint vibration ran through the floor, signaling the energy imbalance. She took a deep breath. "First, observe," she instructed. The team spread out, examining the machinery and environmental controls. Ilara noticed a series of valves that were misaligned and a few conduits showing abnormal readings. She pointed to one section. "This area is unstable," she said. "Adjust the valves gradually and monitor the energy flow." The team followed her instructions, their movements careful but precise. Ilara moved among them, offering guidance, correcting small errors, and encouraging confidence. Suddenly, a surge of energy passed through the sector. One of the conduits sparked, sending a bright flash across the platform. The team froze. Ilara acted immediately, signaling for everyone to step back and stabilize the system remotely. She observed the pattern of the surge, noticing the rhythm and source. "It's coming from the central conduit," she said. "We need to reroute the energy gradually. Do it slowly, one section at a time." Her voice was calm, but inside, adrenaline surged. She guided the team through the complex sequence, explaining gestures and actions to coordinate human and alien movements. Slowly, the energy flow began to stabilize. Lights brightened, drones regained their balance, and the vibration lessened. One of the aliens, a tall being with translucent skin, approached her. They spoke in melodic tones, and Jaren translated, "You are calm under pressure. Humans rarely succeed in crises like this without guidance. You lead well." Ilara felt a rush of pride but stayed focused. There was still work to do. The outer perimeter required full stabilization, and any mistake could undo their progress. She noticed another problem. An auxiliary power panel was overheating. She signaled for 2 humans to approach, guiding their movements carefully. They adjusted the cooling systems and monitored the panel's temperature. Slowly, the overheating stabilized. Hours passed in intense concentration. The team worked tirelessly, following Ilara's guidance and communicating through gestures, observations, and a few basic phrases. Ilara kept moving, checking each system, correcting minor errors, and offering encouragement. Finally, the main energy grid displayed a stable status. The outer perimeter was fully functional again. Lights glowed evenly, drones floated steadily, and the faint vibration had vanished. The team erupted in quiet celebration, exchanging smiles and nods. Ilara exhaled deeply, relief washing over her. She had guided the team through their first real crisis, relying not on reading or writing but on observation, action, and communication. Jaren arrived shortly after, his expression calm but proud. "You've done it," he said. "You faced a real crisis, led a team of humans and aliens, and restored the outer perimeter. Few humans could accomplish this, especially without traditional knowledge skills. You've proven yourself." Ilara felt her chest swell with pride. The fear she had felt that morning was replaced with a quiet confidence. She had faced the unknown, acted decisively, and succeeded. As they returned to the main hub, one of the newcomers, Kara, approached her. "I didn't know humans could do this," she whispered. You made it look possible." Ilara smiled gently. "It's not about being perfect," she said. "It's about observing, thinking, acting, and trusting yourself. Anyone can do it if they try." The evening brought a moment of reflection. Ilara stood on the observation deck, overlooking the colony as the lights glowed against the darkening sky. The day had been exhausting, yet fulfilling. She realized that challenges were not obstacles to fear. They were opportunities to grow, to lead, and to contribute in meaningful ways. Jaren joined her silently, standing beside her. "You've learned more in these 4 days than many humans do in months," he said. "And today you proved something important, not just to the colony, but to yourself. You belong here. You can lead. You can make a difference." Ilara nodded, her eyes fixed on the glowing city below. She thought about the drones she had guided, the systems she had repaired, the newcomers she had mentored, and the crisis she had overcome. Each moment had been a test, and each had strengthened her confidence, her skills, and her sense of belonging. "I feel different," she admitted softly. "I still can't read or write like others, but I know I can do more than I ever imagined." Jaren smiled. "Exactly. Knowledge is more than words on a page. It's experience, courage, observation, and action. You've shown all of that today. And tomorrow your journey will continue with new challenges, ones that will test not only your skills, but your heart." Ilara looked up at the stars above the colony, feeling a deep sense of peace. She had faced her first real crisis and emerged stronger, more confident and more certain of her place in this strange, beautiful world. She knew that challenges would continue, but for the first time she welcomed them. She understood now that belonging was not about perfection nor about following written rules. It was about connection, observation, courage, and the willingness to act. And in that understanding, Ilara had found her strength. As she returned to her quarters, she reflected on the day's events. She had guided a team, solved complex problems, and restored stability to a critical sector, all without relying on traditional reading or writing skills. She realized that her unique perspective, her human intuition, and her courage were assets, not limitations. She lay in bed, staring at the faint glow of the city outside her window. The hum of life in the colony was soothing, a reminder of the world she was becoming a part of. She whispered to herself, "I can do this. I belong here. I will keep growing." And with that thought, she drifted into a deep, peaceful sleep, ready for the challenges and discoveries that awaited her the next day. The next morning, the colony buzzed with unusual activity. Alarms were muted, but screens displayed a series of unexpected energy fluctuations across multiple sectors. The outer perimeter was stable, thanks to Ilara's efforts, but new problems had emerged in the central energy hub. Jaren found Ilara as she prepared for the day. "This is it," he said quietly. "Your final challenge. The central hub controls the entire colony's energy flow. If something goes wrong here, the consequences could be severe. You'll need all your skills: observation, action, leadership, and quick thinking." Ilara felt a mixture of excitement and nerves. She had faced drones, guided newcomers, and stabilized a critical sector, but this felt bigger, more dangerous. Yet she also felt ready. She had grown in the last few days, learned to trust herself, and discovered strengths she never knew she had. The team assembled quickly, a mix of humans and aliens, each ready to follow her guidance. Ilara looked at their faces, seeing determination, hope, and a little fear. She smiled softly. "We can do this," she said. "Stay calm, watch the systems, and work together. Mistakes happen, but we correct them as a team." They arrived at the central hub, a massive room filled with humming machinery, floating panels, and streaming data. The energy grids flickered and pulsed with instability. The air vibrated faintly, a warning of potential overloads. Ilara moved to the main control console. "First observe the systems," she instructed. "Notice patterns, watch the readings, and communicate any changes." The team spread out following her guidance. Humans adjusted auxiliary panels, aliens monitored energy flows, and Ilara moved among them, giving clear instructions and correcting minor errors. Her calm presence kept everyone focused, even as the central hub trembled with instability. Suddenly, a sharp surge of energy hit one of the main conduits. Sparks flew, and lights flickered dangerously. One of the human newcomers froze, unsure what to do. Ilara acted immediately. "Step back from the conduit," she instructed. "Watch me first, then follow my actions. We will redirect the energy safely." She moved with precision, adjusting valves, rerouting power through alternate conduits, and stabilizing the flow. The team mimicked her movements, carefully following her guidance. Slowly, the main conduit's instability eased, the sparks disappeared, and the lights steadied. Ilara's heart raced. This was far more intense than any previous challenge, but she remained focused. She noticed another problem. An auxiliary panel showed a dangerous temperature rise. She signaled to two aliens, guiding their gestures and movements. They adjusted the cooling systems carefully, monitoring the temperature as it gradually returned to normal. Hours passed in tense concentration. Each challenge revealed another layer of the central hub's complexity. Ilara guided her team through overheating systems, fluctuating energy grids, and minor glitches in the drones monitoring the hub. Her calm observation and precise actions kept the team coordinated and effective. Midway through the crisis, a sudden system error caused multiple panels to fail simultaneously. Alarms blared, and the energy grids flickered violently. The team panicked for a brief moment, but Ilara stepped forward, her voice clear and commanding. "Focus on what we can control," she said. "One step at a time. Watch, adjust, communicate. We've done this before, we can do it again." Her words had an immediate effect. The team refocused, their movements coordinated and precise. Panel by panel, conduit by conduit, they stabilized. The failing systems. Ilara noticed a subtle pattern in the errors, a misalignment in the energy flow that triggered multiple failures. "This is the cause," she said. "We need to realign the central grid. Follow me, exactly." She guided the team through a complex sequence of adjustments. Humans and aliens moved in harmony, following her instructions with trust and precision. Slowly, the energy grids balanced, the lights glowed steadily, and the humming machinery returned to a calm, controlled rhythm. The alarm ceased. The central hub was stable. The team exchanged relieved glances, some unable to believe what they had accomplished. Ilara allowed herself a small smile, proud of what they had achieved together. Jaren arrived shortly after, his expression calm but filled with pride. "Remarkable," he said. "You faced the ultimate challenge of this. Colony stabilized the central hub and led a mixed team of humans and aliens with skill and courage. You've proven yourself beyond doubt." Ilara felt a surge of accomplishment. She had faced crises that tested her observation, action, and leadership. She had guided others, corrected errors, and solved problems that seemed impossible. And, through it all, she had relied not on reading or writing, but on intuition, courage, and trust in herself. One of the alien team members approached, speaking in melodic tones. Jaren translated, "You have earned respect. Humans are often underestimated, but your actions have shown wisdom, bravery, and skill beyond expectation. You belong here, among us." Ilara felt warmth spread through her chest. She realized that her journey had been about more than surviving, learning, or completing tasks. It was about proving her worth through action, showing that even without traditional skills, she could contribute, lead, and inspire others. As the day ended, the colony held a small ceremony to recognize those who had contributed to stabilizing the central hub. Ilara's team was praised and her name was highlighted for exceptional leadership. She stood quietly, allowing herself to feel pride, humility, and gratitude all at once. Jaren approached her again as the ceremony ended. "You've done something extraordinary," he said. "In just 5 days, you've grown from a newcomer to a leader capable of handling the colony's most critical systems. Remember this: knowledge comes in many forms. Courage, observation, action, and the willingness to try are as important as reading or writing. You've proven that today." Ilara nodded, feeling a sense of completion and belonging. She had faced every challenge, from learning basic tasks to guiding newcomers, stabilizing the outer perimeter, and finally managing the central hub during a crisis. She had discovered her strengths, tested her courage, and found her place in a world that once seemed overwhelming. As night fell, she walked to the observation deck. The city below glowed with steady lights, a testament to the energy and life that flowed through the colony. Drones moved in synchronized patterns, citizens went about their routines, and the faint hum of machines filled the air. Ilara stood quietly, reflecting on her journey. She thought of her first uncertain steps, the mistakes she had made, and the fear she had felt when facing challenges. She also thought of the pride, the teamwork, and the triumph of overcoming obstacles. She whispered to herself, "I can do this. I belong here. I am part of this world." Jaren joined her silently, looking out over the city. "You've grown, more in these days than many do in a lifetime," he said softly. "And the colony is better because of you." Ilara smiled. "I never imagined I could do so much," she admitted. "I thought my inability to read or write would stop me. But I learned I can contribute in ways I didn't know. I can lead. I can make a difference." Jaren nodded. "Exactly. You've shown that true strength comes from courage, observation, action, and heart. That is what makes a human remarkable here. And you've earned your place among us." Ilara looked out at the glowing city, the hum of life surrounding her. She felt a deep sense of belonging, confidence, and purpose. She had faced every challenge, learned from every experience, and emerged stronger, wiser, and capable. The night grew quiet, and the stars above twinkled like distant beacons. Ilara closed her eyes for a moment, feeling gratitude for the guidance, trust, and opportunities she had received. She knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, but she was ready. She had proven to herself that her limitations did not define her. Her actions, courage, and determination did, and in that realization, Ilara found a strength she had never known before. She belonged in the colony, not because she could read or write, but because she had the heart, mind, and courage to face challenges, guide others, and grow. With a final glance at the glowing city, she whispered softly, "I am ready for anything."